Hey, welcome to this week's podcast. Thanks for listening, as always. Um, Quick update on some things that you need to pay attention to. I've got a great topic to talk about today, but before I do, I want to talk about some upcoming events. I've got a master class on management accounting. Boy, I'm not going to bore you with explaining what that's all about, but check out my website, trstimson.com/masterclass, and learn more about it. If you've struggled with understanding your numbers, knowing where to put things, getting actionable data, if you're tired of not making money, guess what? It's in your numbers. This is a very important class for you. Jumpstart Workshop will be in November. The master class is October 15th. Jumpstart Workshop is November 18th and 19th in Dallas. And we're going to focus on the selling sphere. So think about the top of your funnel and moving that stuff down. That's where we're going to spend our time. How many times have you said all of my problems would go away if we just had more revenue? Well, this is the workshop for you. If you want to learn more about that, trstimson.com/jumpstart. I've got a new product out. You'll see it in the promos. We're going to have another boot camp in January, the 12th through the 15th. Boot camp is really geared for the younger owner operators who haven't made all the mistakes yet and want to avoid them. It's all of my fundamental knowledge and information, shot at you through a fire hose over 2.5 days. Some good networking time and hanging out, unlimited access to me, some coaching that goes with it. If you've just discovered me and you're trying to work on your business and you want to get there faster, this is the way to do it. If you're a learn it and get it done kind of person, the ROI on this event will be enormous because you're going to have everything you need to know to make the best moves for your business now. So good stuff coming up. I'm already looking at 2026 and those Jumpstart Masterclass events. So if you've got thoughts or ideas, feel free to email me, tom@trstimson.com, and share your thoughts. Now, having said all that, let's get to today's podcast. Welcome to your weekly dose of uncommon sense, helpful insights, and tough love. I'm your host, Tom Stimson. The Intentional Success Podcast comes to you through the generous support of Mertz Crew.
Mertz Crew helps top AV companies book quality AV freelancers. Your choice, your rates. We handle contracts, insurance, and payments. You save time, cost, and reduce risk. Start today at mertzcrew.com.
Now on to the show. So a prospect called me. He had set up a call. He had set up a Let's Chat with me, which is a great way to get started. He'd clicked on interest on a couple of things, and I would look forward to those calls. I get to meet new people, find out what's important to them, and if not, create a new customer or client or get somebody into an Intentional Success Club. I have a new friend of the industry, and hopefully we'll connect from time to time, years to come, and I can follow their journey. So never hesitate to reach out if you haven't talked to me before. I actually, that's the highlight of my week. So please do that. But anyway, I'm going to say young man called me, which is, well, that's fair because everybody's young to me right now. He called me. He set up this call. He made the appointment on time, but he was in his car. He was fumbling with his phone. He was driving. I begged him to please pull over. Happy to chat. We could reschedule, did all those things. But no, he really wanted to talk. And I asked him how his day was going. He goes, well, I'm on my way back from a gig. And he goes, I wasn't scheduled on this gig, but somebody called in sick. So I had to go out and do this job, blah, 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 blah. And he's the owner of the business. And, I remember those days. There's times when that's what you have to do. But as he talked, it was clear that this happened all the time to him, this sort of thing. He talked about lots of things that were very noisy to him. So we chatted. He's a really smart guy. He's doing high level events for discerning clients. He has a niche service, type of person that I would probably want to do business with if I were an event buyer. But his business was really, really noisy, and he was burned out. They weren't growing. And he felt kind of trapped. And I was new to him. He'd found this podcast, as many as of you have, and he didn't really know all of my stuff. He just listened to a few podcasts. So we talked a little bit. He heard about my philosophies. I answered some questions about the things he'd heard on other podcasts. Um, we agreed to, catch up later, chat, and this was several months ago. And he just recently called me back. Um, and this is the perfect prospect, right? He'd bought all of my books on Amazon. He's read them. He'd backfilled through podcasts. He was looking at old articles, watching YouTube videos. He was absorbing all the things that I've been talking about for the past few years, and he's already applying them to his business, which is very exciting. And he wanted to tell me about how successful he had been, and he described things like, I quit booking myself on shows. I'm not going to do that anymore. If there's an emergency, I'll take care of it, but I'm not going to do shows anymore. And we quit doing rentals. We're not a rental company. We're a show company. So anytime we're dealing with somebody, we're renting something to somebody, it's just a pain in the butt. And so we're going to not do that. And I looked at the pricing we were doing and realized I was using rental rates, and my labor and, all my market intelligence and everything was a pass through. So he'd done a lot of things very, very quickly. And then he explained to me what his epiphany was, which excites me no end, because this guy gets it. He absolutely gets it. He realized the challenge, and he said, I think he got it out of the book Balance. He said, the challenge I have is that we were doing shows and we were doing rentals, but the real problem is we were doing shows. He goes, then I realized that's not our job. My job is not to do shows. My job is to get shows done. So if my job is to get shows done, how would I do things differently? And this is what he worked through. And I thought, this is brilliant. This is a great case study of a self-learner, somebody who took the information and did something on his own. So knowing now that he was in the business of getting shows done instead of doing shows, what did that let him do? It completely changed his philosophy on pricing and where value was created. He was applying cost plus margin thinking. He was booking better freelancers, recruiting farther ahead, completely had no issues with outsourcing major pieces of equipment and things like that, rather than trying to force fit a show. Basically, if his clients needed him to do something, he would source it for them. He was putting a margin on it, not too much, but enough to keep, take care of his risk. And it helped him get all the rest of the job, which is a lot of internal resources. It was brilliant. And the relief in his voice to me was very, very gratifying. So those are the kind of the moments that I live for, right? It's people who start to understand what balance is all about, what scalability is all about. And this is about keeping your overhead down, okay? So that you're not dependent on empty revenue just to get the money churn, so that you can keep paying your overhead month after month and month, and hope that a few months out of the year, you actually make a lot of money. You can keep your overhead down. You can outsource anything that you need. You sell things at a fair margin, and you don't worry about revenue. You focus on gross profit. And in doing that, you're now freeing yourself up to focus on ideal customers, not take the rental job or the tire kicker phone calls or the courtesy proposals or all the other noise that we have to deal with from non-ideal customers because you're desperate for revenue. You have to get out of that death trap, that death spiral of, I have so much overhead, so I need more revenue, so I can get gross profit, so I can cover my overhead. And if I lowered my overhead, then I'd be less dependent on revenue. I would have more profitable months rather than having 3 or 4. You might have 8 profitable months. And it also allows you to focus on what you really want to do instead of chasing revenue, throwing out really wide nets. So my story today was really about how there is no money in doing shows. Rental companies don't do shows. Rental companies rent equipment for shows and they throw some people at it and you get a rental show. That's doing a show, okay, but it's not the same as getting a show done. Getting a show done means that you're the expert. It's not the sum of the parts that matters. It's everything that comes because you put the right parts together. Getting shows done is about applying your knowledge and your expertise. It's about smart sourcing of talent and materials. It's about cost control because you might own equipment because it makes sense to own, but what's the equipment you need to own? You need to own the equipment that will help you get shows done, not help you do shows. Let me give you an example. I talk about glue items all the time. Glue items are the things that make all the endpoints work together. If you've got a switcher and you've got an LED wall, everything in between those two is glue. All the bits and bobs and parts and pieces you need to have. It's the cables and the adapters and the decimators and the, transcoders and whatever it might be that you need to make all the other stuff work together. And that's really the stuff you need to own, because the honest truth is you can rent an LED wall anywhere. Okay. And on any given day, you might get a heck of a deal, or projectors or large screen displays. You don't have to own all of that. You don't have to own all the audio racks and stacks you could ever want. Okay. What you need are the stuff that helps you connect all the things that you outsource in addition to the things you already own. I'm not saying don't own anything, because there's a good financial reason to own gear. Okay. But you don't have to own all the gear, because that increases your overhead, which forces you to take on shows that are not ideal. It forces you to chase non-ideal revenue. But the big philosophy, the big mindset shift that allows you to focus on the right things is to get out of the business of doing shows. Companies that do shows send all their best employees out on shows. On the busiest day of the year, the office is empty, right? Everybody's out doing a show, okay? Companies that get shows done have the same number of people in their office the busiest day of the year as they do on the slowest day of the year, right? They're always working 60, 90, 120 days in advance on future projects. There's always work to be done. Just because you're not busy this week with an event, you don't have a lot of income this week, doesn't mean that there's not important work to be doing for the future. And just because you're busy with 5 shows this week doesn't mean that you still don't need to be working on those other things in the future. In other words, you're always getting shows done. This week's shows, you got them done by doing work 2, 3, 4, 6, 8 weeks ago. The shows that are 8 weeks from now, you're going to get them done by the work that you're doing today. And when you learn to focus on that and build your priorities around the philosophy of getting shows done, then you realize a lot of the things I have, a lot of my overhead and a lot of my noise is because we spend our time doing shows, which cuts into our ability to improve our processes, finally fix your pricing tree, get those packages, systems, and kits put together properly in the warehouse. All those things that will make you a better business, you're not doing because you're too busy doing shows. Your primary business is to get shows done. Now, that's not true of everybody. It's okay to be a rental company, okay? But as I said earlier, rental companies don't really do shows. Rental companies add parts and pieces together. The client is the one doing the show, and you're just a supplier, or you're a weak alternative to somebody who gets shows done for a living and is more inclined to do better work, put better people, make better choices, to over deliver, have lots of extra yeses built in, as opposed to a rental company whose primary focus is to not send any more than was on the rental order and hope that we sold it correctly. People who get shows done will send the right stuff. We sold a scope of work. We're going to send everything it takes to make it work, right? So 2 different philosophies, 2 different business models, but embracing the concept of balance and scalability along with getting shows done means you get to eliminate a lot of noise in your business. it means you get to do your highest and best work more often. So, that's the big message I want to get across today. Two things. Well, the two things is one, I love getting calls from you guys. I love visiting. I love answering your questions. That's important to me. I love seeing you at events and workshops and hearing your stories. And I love calls like this one I just had with somebody who simply through their own self-study of all my free content and $20 worth of audiobooks has really made a major change in his company and is excited about his future and really wants to join the community and meet all of you. And that's the best thing ever. So that's all I have to say for you today, except I look forward to seeing you at my next event. And if you don't know where they are, please sign up for my newsletter at trstimson.com or to schedule a call with me, and I'll tell you all about them. I look forward to meeting you all. Thanks for listening.
If you liked this episode of the Intentional Success Podcast, please leave a review and don't forget to like and subscribe. This podcast has been brought to you by the helpful folks at Mertz Crew.